Go.
Starting. Hi, my name is Laurie Groh. I'm co-owner at Shoreside Therapies, and today we have again with us Laila Wiechmann. And today we're going to be talking about codependency. This is one of my favorite areas. I think it's not talked a lot about it in the community, and just people kind of feel like this negative feeling about that word. But really, I think it's something that's within all of us. It just can be more extreme in people and, cause bigger problems in relationships. So I want to start out with just asking you, Laila, what is codependency?
So codependency, and I agree with you. I think that there are different variations of how much one person has it versus another. It's not just one size fits all. So basically, it's an imbalance in relationship patterns where one person assumes the responsibility of another person's feelings and emotions at the expense of their own. This originally started from Alcoholics Anonymous, where the person who was the alcoholic was dependent on the alcohol, and the people that were trying to help them were therefore dependent on the alcoholic, because they were doing everything in their power to save them or help them in any way. And that's really where the initially codependency, that term came from. Obviously, that has changed a lot over a period of time. Codependency is valid in very many different kind of relationships. That's kind of the background of where it is and what it is.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that person in that role that's in a relationship with someone with an addiction takes it upon themselves to try to
Correct.
potentially control the addiction, and also try
Mm-hmm.
to control the behavior that goes along with the addiction as well.
Correct.
And, in that process, kind of they lose themselves quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, there is this feeling of putting all of your energy into trying to have that other person stop using,
Right.
or limit using. I mean, it could be,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could be different for everyone on what they're trying to achieve there. But so basically, that's where that developed.
Sure.
What are some of the signs? What are some of the signs of codependency?
So there are lots of different ones. I'll just kind of touch base on a few of them. So for one, like walking on eggshells around the person that you are codependent with. Just never wanting to rock the boat. Always want to kind of remain status quo, not letting the other person get angry at them. Feeling the need to check in on people all the time. Where are you? What are you doing? Making sure you're safe, kind of, being that octopus and, putting all your arms out there trying to, make sure that person is safe. Another one is, apologizing to the person even though you haven't done anything wrong. Um, any kind of mishap, we think it's our fault. And, even if it
Right.
isn't, we still want to make sure that, that person doesn't get angry or upset with us. Because, anger
Yeah.
is not a good thing for a codependent person. Avoid it at all
Yeah.
costs, you know.
Right. The
Um,
anger piece, right? That reminds me quickly of a quote. I hope I don't botch it too much in Codependency No More, where
mhm,
she talks about feeling of being responsible for everything, but
mhm.
yet at the same time not feeling responsible for your own life.
Correct. That's
And that
exactly.
just spoke to me. I love that quote, because that's what that feels like. Of, if I'm trying to maintain this good relationship, and I don't get this person angry, or I try to do everything in a perfect way, then they're not going to drink, or they're not going to use.
Exactly.
At the same time, then feeling resentful because it's taking up all of their capacity.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. You hit it
Yeah.
right on the head. Um, feeling sorry for a person, even if they've hurt you. And that kind of goes into physical abuse relationships where say you are somebody is physically abused, and that person goes, oh, it was my fault because I didn't have dinner on the table at the right time. I made him angry. Taking on that responsibility, even though you and I both know that that's wrong. That's we are not responsible for somebody else's anger, and they shouldn't take it out on you. So that's really trying to rescue people or to change them. Being that savior. I know I can save him. He's a really good guy. I can change him. Yeah.
Right.
And
I think we've all seen the romantic comedies where that happens quite frequently, right? Where the guy's kind of maybe kind of arrogant or mean, or they're maybe drinking too much or something, and then all of a sudden, meets the woman, and all problems are gone. Live happily ever after, right? It is an idea that's definitely pushed on to us for sure.
Yeah, but it's obviously not realistic because it's hard enough to change ourselves, more or less try to make somebody else change or to rescue them. In other words, a need for other people. You need their approval to be liked. You want them to like you in order for you to like yourself. It's like you're this empty emotional vessel, so you look towards other people to fill that need for you in order to feel good about yourself. And I'll kind of touch base on why that is, later. But very much looking for approval from other people. Even if you don't know them.
Right.
Just like at the grocery store, getting a nice compliment. Yeah. And the last one, which I think is
for others, Oh, sorry. What I was saying is looking for other people to make your self-esteem better, right? I mean, that's basically what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And the last one, which I think kind of brings about change for some people, is feeling lost within that relationship. You don't know who you are. You lose yourself so much in that relationship that you don't know. Like, who am I? What do I stand for? How do I feel about something? That part is never developed because you've expended so much energy into that other person. And I think that's when people when they reach that point, they're like, maybe I need to get some help.
Right. Right.
So those are some, and there are many.
Yeah.
And to different degrees, people are affected by them, but those are some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing those out. I think those parts of it of kind of thinking about, okay, where am I in the relationship? Am I doing any of these things? And to what degree?
Right.
And then going from there, when you start, like you said, when you start losing yourself, indication would be if you painted all the time or had some other hobby, and then once you're in a relationship, there's no more painting. Right. There's no energy for it, or there's no, it just ends because all of that energy has to go towards that person.
Right. Yeah.
So, Laila, you mentioned that you were going to talk a little bit about some of the, or I'm sorry, how does it happen? So how does somebody become codependent?
So codependency really, it's a set of maladaptive coping skills that we learn in childhood. It really is based in childhood. So like a child will grow up in a home where their emotions were ignored, which leads pretty much to emotional neglect. And then the person has a very, very low self-esteem and a lot of shame. And shame, is I did bad. I'm a bad person, instead of guilt, which is I did bad. And so it's really, really difficult way to grow up. And the child basically believes that their emotions are not valid. They're swept under the rug. Usually like one or more parents, they are not fulfilling their roles as a parent. And that could be due to medical issues or codependency, and not codependency, occurring disorders or mental health issues, but and whatever, they're just not fulfilling their roles. So this child who's young is called upon to do these tasks for the parent when they're not developmentally really capable of doing that, but they take on these roles anyway, and get good at them eventually because they have to, and they even may become like pseudo parents to if they have siblings
Right.
younger,
Yeah.
changing diapers, getting the kids off to school, making dinner at night, so they become little parents and become
Yeah.
very responsible at a very young age when they developmentally really aren't capable of doing that. So,
Right. And Laila,
yeah.
with that, right? When we talked a little bit about that responsibility piece, that
Mhm.
showcases it, right? Of like when you're young and you are the one that's responsible for other children, or even believing you're responsible for your parents' emotional well-being,
Yes.
there would become a sense of I'm responsible for everything
Yep. Yeah. It's
with
really,
that, right? Is
yeah.
that
I mean, if you really think about it, that's a lot for a child to take on. Um, but,
yeah.
but they learn because that's a coping skill that they have to learn. So, being an adult may take
Okay.
all of their efforts, and because it takes all their efforts, they don't learn how to meet their own emotional needs. They don't know, they're not taught that they have emotional needs. It's not filled. So they're very empty in that respect.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they associate caregiving role with one of like stability and control. As long as I can get all this stuff done, mom and dad aren't going to be mad at me. It's all going to be, I'll just keep, all these balls in the air at the same time, and everything will be good. It's, I'm getting tired just talking about it. So, it's a lot. It's a lot. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the unhealthy environment that children that codependents grow up in. So once they leave that unhealthy home environment and they go out into the real world and they start establishing their own relationships, they bring that along with them. Even though
Mhm.
it would, say you're entering into a relationship that is healthy, those coping skills that you had, you're bringing with you, even though they're not really suitable for that relationship. So,
Yeah.
the codependency becomes more of a hindrance rather than a survival skill.
Mhm.
And so
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, so all these, taking care of them and making sure everything's done and making sure nobody gets angry, like all those the signs that we talked about before, those all are just laid right on top of a relationship. And
Right.
if
Right.
and generally, and they pick needy people usually. So that's kind of it in a
Mhm.
very big nutshell.
Yeah, yeah, and with that, with how you said like they might pick someone that might be needy,
Mhm.
needing more, right?
Right.
And sometimes there can be this confusion of pity and love, and those
Mhm.
things can become very enmeshed of
Yeah.
feeling sorry for this person, going back to that I want to save them, I want to help them,
Mhm.
and feeling bad for that person can get confusing for an
Right.
individual that might have codependency because it
Mhm.
can feel like love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. It'll feel like love to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until you break that cycle,
Mhm.
that's what you will continue to seek out in relationships. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Laila, speaking of breaking the cycle, maybe you could offer a couple of things on how to break codependency.
Sure, sure. Number one, practice self-care. Learn how to find, spend time thinking about what do I like? What are my likes?
Yeah.
What are my dislikes? How do I feel? Feel about a piece of music or feel about a TV show, on my own and not just, go along with somebody else. So really do practicing a lot of self-care. Be kind to yourself, and try to begin to feel those emotions that you haven't felt before. Another thing is to learn to be independent. A lot of times you're so focused on that other person that you have neglected your friends, your family, well, obviously yourself. But take time for yourself. Take a walk or see your family, go to dinner with friends. Learning not to always have to be with another person. You don't always have to jump from one relationship into another to fulfill you.
Right.
You should be able to fill yourself. It's like that saying, "Oh, you complete me." I don't believe that. I believe that you should be a complete person, meeting another complete person, and then you complement one another.
Right.
So
Right.
learning that. I think learning like realistic expectations. What can I expect? What can I expect from myself and from my life? I don't know. So having realistic expectations, you don't have to exist in somebody else, for somebody else to feel that I am a person. So what are my expectations? And then big one is setting boundaries, learning to say no,
Right.
people pleasing.
Right.
Learning to say no, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Some people just, they just get so used to because, that too is exhausting. But learning to say no, stand up for how you feel and your time, versus just rolling over.
Yes.
And then I think a lot of times
Yeah.
people do go and they deal with their past, and oftentimes they go to therapy for that. And what's nice about that is oftentimes people can't, because they aren't emotionally equipped to deal with their past. It's helpful to see a therapist in that it provides an unconditional, safe place for them to be angry, for them to cry, for them to, to expend these emotions that they've always had to hide because they were afraid to show them. So I think that's a real
Right.
big one.
Right.
So those are some
Yeah,
ways.
and practicing some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, Laila, like practicing those new skills and the new way of interacting. That's another thing that's useful about talking to a therapist about it.
Yeah.
Because that way you can role play a little bit. You can go through like, what if they say this and how do I respond to that? And then when you do that task, you come back and you get some support from it so that
Right.
you're not alone, because not everyone's going to respond to your new nose in a positive way, like, oh yeah, of course I understand,
Right.
that might not be what happens, right?
Exactly.
So having that extra support can be so important.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much.
So Laila, sorry, I keep cutting you off
No worries.
today. So what were you going to say?
I just said that's pretty much codependency in a quick nutshell. So, yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you. And Laila, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your group. I know we talked about it last time, but maybe you'd share again about your new group that you're offering.
Sure. I'm going to be doing a group on I was going to say codependency, on addiction and recovery, kind of on Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 7:30, probably virtual on Zoom. We'll be doing it for 5 weeks, covering every topic from recognizing, do I have a problem with chemicals? What are they? What does addiction mean? What are ways that I can recognize it and how to deal with it and manage it? And what are relapse prevention things that I can do? And so just covering the whole wide variety of topics in a short period of time. But it just gives you an introduction, and it's meant for people that may be actively using drugs and alcohol, may think that they might have a problem, or family members who are dealing with a patient or with a family member that is, and they would like to get more information. So that's what it's going to be about.
That sounds That sounds great. So the psychoeducation is going to be big in this
Yes.
5-week group,
Mhm.
and and it's free right
Yes,
now.
it's
So
free.
for those
Yes.
5 weeks, yes. So I think that part will be really great.
Mhm.
So if anyone's wondering, should I talk to someone? I'm a little bit on the fence whether I have an issue or not, or a family member might. This would be a great opportunity to join like-minded people that might be having the same questions, help you
Right.
feel not alone in this.
Right.
And I did put on that little bar coming down. You can see your email address
Mhm.
after your name, after Lila's name. So if you are interested in the group, please reach out. If you'd like to schedule an appointment with Laila, please reach out as well.
Mhm.
She's a great therapist and can help you through some of these difficult things, especially learning new skills and learning new ways to interact with people. So I
Mhm.
want to thank you again, Laila, for your time,
Thank you,
and talk
Laurie.
to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.